entitled Parker parked in my driveway, so I blocked them in and got drunk all weekend. It was Friday night, and I was looking forward to unwinding after a long week of work. When I pulled onto my street, I immediately noticed a commotion up the block. Someone was throwing a huge party. Cars were parked everywhere, spilling over onto the sidewalks, lawns, and driveways. It was chaotic, to say the least. But what really caught my eye, and not in a good way, was the unfamiliar car sitting squarely in my driveway. Now, my driveway isn't just any driveway. It's narrow, barely wide enough for one car, with retaining walls on both sides and a garage at the far end. It's not the kind of setup where a tow truck can just swoop in and haul a car out without causing some serious property damage. Seeing that car sitting there like it owned the place made my blood boil. Who does that? With no other street parking available, I decided to handle it in the pettiest but most satisfying way I could think of. I parked my car directly behind them, completely blocking them in. I headed inside, put my feet up, and cracked open a cold beer. The sheer nerve of someone thinking they were entitled to my private driveway was annoying, sure, but I wasn't about to let it ruin my night. A couple of hours passed, and I'd nearly forgotten about the whole thing when there was a loud, impatient knock at my door. I opened it to find a woman standing there, clearly fuming. Without so much as a hello, she launched into a tirade, demanding I move my car immediately so she could leave. The entitlement was dripping from her words. I let her rant for a moment before calmly telling her, "Sorry, I've been drinking, and I'm not moving my car." Her face twisted in frustration, and she stomped off, muttering something about calling the police. I shrugged and went back to my beer, curious to see how far she'd go. Sure enough, about 20 minutes later, there was another knock at the door. This time, it was the police. Before answering, I made sure to grab another beer from the fridge. I wanted it to be abundantly clear that I was, in fact, enjoying my night. When I opened the door, the officer politely explained that someone had called about a parking dispute. I nodded and explained the situation, making sure to emphasize that I'd been drinking and was in no condition to move my car. The officer sighed, clearly seeing where this was going. Legally, my car was parked in my own driveway. I wasn't breaking any laws, and since I admitted to drinking, they couldn't ask me to move it without risking a DUI. As for the other car, towing wasn't an option either, given the tight space and the risk of property damage. The officer turned to the woman and explained the situation to her. She was livid, arguing that she needed to leave, and this was completely unfair. But there wasn't much they could do. She had parked illegally in someone else's driveway, and now she was stuck. As the officer walked away, I turned to her and said with a sly smile, "It's a long weekend, and I've got plans to enjoy it. You're welcome to come back Tuesday morning after I leave for work." Her face was a mix of shock and outrage, but there wasn't much she could do. She huffed and walked off, muttering under her breath. For the rest of the weekend, I kept my promise. I enjoyed my drinks, relaxed at home, and savored the satisfaction of teaching someone a lesson about entitlement. When Tuesday morning rolled around, I moved my car as promised, but I couldn't help but wonder if she'd think twice before stealing someone's driveway again.